Okay, let's dive right into this. We're going to be talking about one of the most, well, intuitive ideas in all of machine learning, the decision tree. But we're going to look at it through a really fascinating lens, the art of not memorizing things. I mean, it's a huge question, right? You and I, we make thousands of little decisions every single day. But how on earth do you get a computer to do that? Do you just write, I don't know, a million lines of code with a million rules? Or is there a more human way to think about it?
Well, think about something simple, like how you decide what to wear. You probably don't even realize you're doing it, but you're asking a series of questions. First question, is it sunny? Yep. Okay. Next, is it warm? Also yes. So the conclusion is pretty obvious. Wear shorts. It's just a little flowchart of if-then questions.
And that simple flowchart we just walked through, that's it. That is exactly what a decision tree is in machine learning. It's basically a model that looks at a bunch of data and figures out the best possible questions to ask, one after another, creating this tree of branching decisions that leads you to a final answer. Super straightforward, really powerful, and honestly, pretty easy to wrap your head around.
Okay, now here's where the plot thickens. You can actually let one of these trees just keep growing and growing and growing, asking more and more specific questions until it has a unique, perfect path for every single piece of data you showed it. It essentially builds a flawless memory of everything it's ever seen.
And what does that get you? Well, it gets you a perfect score, 100% accuracy on the training data. I mean, it can recall the answer to every question it was ever asked. On paper, this thing looks like the ultimate A-plus student. But there's a really big catch.
And that's the question, isn't it? If a student just memorizes the answers from last year's test, are they actually ready for this year's exam? What happens the second they see a new question they haven't memorized? They're totally lost. And that's the big problem for our decision tree. Has it actually learned a useful pattern, or did it just memorize all the noise?
So this brings us to what I like to call the Goldilocks problem. You have two extremes. On one side, you have that super deep tree, the perfect memorizer. We call this overfitting. It knows the past perfectly, but it's completely brittle and fails on anything new. On the other side, you have a tree that's way too simple, way too shallow. It's so general, it just misses all the important details. That's underfitting. Our entire job is to find the one that's just right. So, how do we find that perfect balance? Well, theory is great, but let's actually see this in action. We're going to run a little experiment using a classic data set, the iris flower data set. We'll basically ask a decision tree to learn how to tell different flower species apart, and we'll see what happens when we try trees of different sizes. All right, now check this out because this table tells a really cool story. Look at that top row. That's our tree with no limits, unlimited depth. And just like we talked about, it gets a perfect 1.0 on the training data it memorized. But look what happens when we show it new validation data. The score drops. That gap right there, that's overfitting in action. But now, look down at a max depth of 3. The training score is great, and the validation score is even better, a perfect 1.0. That, my friends, is the sweet spot. And there it is. That's our winner. By stopping the tree from getting too complex, we basically forced it to stop memorizing tiny, irrelevant details. We made it find the most important, most general patterns in the data. This is the whole art of not memorizing. It's the art of generalization. So let's peek inside the brain of this smarter, more balanced tree. What's the very first, most important question it learned to ask? It's about petal length. The model figured out that if a flower's petal is shorter than about 2.5 centimeters, it's almost guaranteed to be an iris setosa. That's it. A super simple, super powerful rule. And this chart shows us exactly why it chose that question first. The algorithm looks at everything, petal length, petal width, you name it, and it calculated that asking about petal length gave it the most bang for your buck. It did the best job of splitting the flowers into clean, pure groups right from the start. It is, by far, the most informative thing to ask about. So when you actually look at a picture of the tree, you can see this logic play out. You see all these splits based on different features, and it uses this fancy term, Gini impurity, to decide where to split, but really just think of it like sorting marbles. A bucket with only blue marbles is perfectly pure. A bucket with a mix of colors is impure. The tree's only goal is to make splits that create the purest possible buckets at every step. Each path down the tree is just a series of sorting decisions, leading to a final bucket or prediction.
So, here it is, the moment of truth. We take our winning model, our just right tree, and we test it on a final, brand new set of data it has never ever seen before. And the result? A fantastic 96.7% accuracy. This is the proof. Our model didn't just cram for the old test, it can ace a new one. It has actually truly learned. And that's the big takeaway from all of this. In machine learning, and maybe in life, a perfect memory can actually be a trap. The real goal isn't to perfectly remember the past. It's to build something that can generalize its knowledge to solve new problems in the future. That's what really matters.
So, we've built one really solid, really effective decision tree by being smart about how complex we let it get. But that just leads to one final, really tantalizing question, doesn't it? If one well-built tree is this good, what would happen if you combine the wisdom of a whole